Hello, my audience. I'm putting this on a stand. Or not. It's cuts off my face. So when you put it on a stand, I'm going to have to hold it manually. Hello, my audience, my newcomers. Viewers are... My name is, for my new viewers, Jake Allen Graham, and that's my name to my channel, and that's my name. So, I'm reviewing Batman Trilogy that Christopher Nolan did, titled as The Dark Knight Trilogy, from 2005 to 2012. I give these movies a 6 out of 10. I just don't like them. I have a dislike because my relationship gave me a mixed bag of opinions of how I felt on these movies. I felt like they were too mediocre and cut too quickly to the action, and not enough drama getting to know the character of Batman, known as, and also the Bruce Wayne persona behind the mask. I just thought like it just didn't seem more realistic take on Batman like Nolan was trying to do. I didn't feel like it was very practical or realistic how he did it. It felt too theatricality. There was too much theatricality stuff from the comics it leans into as the series goes on and progress. Especially once it introduces Two-Face within the third act, or it has a halfway point of the Dark Knight trilogy, Dark Knight movie is over, you know, at the halfway point of Dark Knight when he introduces Two-Face, becomes Two-Face, takes on villain persona, but just going on for revenge. Doesn't even call himself Two-Face. He's just going on revenge, killing all ties who was connected to Rachel's murder, except for Joker, which is kind of stupid, I thought. And blah blah blah. That's where the drama is, and I found the drama was pretty weak and stale, like a fart chip. I mean, a stale chip. It felt as compelling as a silent but deadly fight in an elevator. As in, it stinks. The drama that it tells. What's this movie? The action's top notch, but the drama's rancid. Awful. Stupid. Like the Shyamalan levels of drama. I wonder who wrote the script. I doubt it was. I know it can't be Nolan. He's too competent to have any say in this stupid script of these movies. These movies are too stupid for Nolan to have and be involved with. I doubt that Nolan was involved with the writing. But if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I didn't look into it. Okay, be honest with you. I'll look into it. Who wrote the script stories to these movies, because the drama was stupid. But it was very well directed, competently directed, by a really competent filmmaker, Christopher Nolan. Was the action, and the drama was directed well, was shot visually, I guess, when the drama did happen. But even though the drama was terrible, mostly because of the dialogue and the cringe dialogue that felt like a monologue all the time. Like, it felt like yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. It felt like dialogue that felt always like monologuing constantly, 24 hours for every character in the movie. Monologuing at some point in the movie, and then the Joker's caught doing it, of all people, which is kind of retarded, because he's supposed to be Batman's polar opposite. And it's okay when Batman does it, but when every character does it, even when it's the characters that you know that shouldn't do that, like the Joker of all people, for the time was known for being loud and obnoxious, the polar opposite of Batman. But when he's caught doing that, he becomes the duplicate of Batman, basically, in the Nolan franchise. He loses all of his originality when he starts doing that monologuing. But he does the least amount of it in the out of everyone in the 2008 flick. because he has the least amount of dialogue and the least amount of screen time, which is good, because if he got more screen time, they would just ruin him. I worry about that, because if you gave more dialogue and more screen time, they would somehow make it more longer with the monologuing and make it worse. Because the dialogue in this is pretty clunky. Like whack, like Saint Anger's writing of dialogue. You know Saint Anger music from Saint Anger? You know James Hetfield writes his lyrics for Saint Anger? You know the lyrics for Saint Anger? All the lyrics in that track, how they blur together with the lyrics that's so bad and the sound so bad? Well, you know how the... Yeah, I know I'm selling, I'm going off track, but stay with me for this example, is what the dialogue in the Dark Knight 2008 flick feels like. When you're listening to the dialogue, it's pretty shitty and unnatural and unauthentic, clunky dialogue by everybody. Yeah, we're actually giving this saying little speeches and stuff. It feels, oh, stupid, cliche, unoriginal, uninspiring. When you get, it's sad because you're gonna get a filmmaker like Christopher Nolan directing this mediocre garbage of a film franchise, The Dark Knight, when he's so much capable of doing better projects like Oppenheimer and Memento. Yeah, I like Memento and I like Oppenheimer, okay? More than the Dark Knight trilogy. And the reason why I hate this movie so much, because I like Oppenheimer and Memento more than the Dark Knight trilogy, all three of them. And that's why I think the Dark Knight trilogy is mediocre. Because keep in mind, Batman's my #1 favorite DC character of all time. I never told you that, internet, my audience, until now. So, that being said, I just wanted more quality in the story. The action's perfectly top-notch, but I just wanted a better story with better drama and more authentic dialogue within the story that didn't feel like a spoon-fed constantly with the foreshadowing, with spoon-fed thing. And I felt like Nolan's trilogy often spoon-fed you the foreshadowing in the of the ending of the Dark Knight 2008 flick, and it spoon-fed the audience too much of how the movie's going to end. It's like kind of like, so yeah, and like that, I mean, it makes sense the second time you see it, but it also feels like you don't think it seems kind of like forced, because he constantly, the director's forced to constantly spoon-fed and foreshadow the audience of how the movie's going to end, blah blah blah, but it just ends a little anticlimactic for me, the 2008 flick versus the 2005 flick, how it ended on more of a triumphant tease, the reveal of the Joker coming. And I don't know, I expected, back in 2005, I expected more for the 2008 flick, the one that finally revealed, okay, so Joker, this is what he looks like. Okay, so Joker's gonna be the shit in this movie. He's gonna be better than Scarecrow and the portrayal of race that Nolan did. He's going to be even probably, yeah, I got a good feeling about this. He's going to be scarier than the Scarecrow, and also more menaced and more smarter and collective than Raz, the League of Assassin that Nolan went for, where Liam Neeson played him. So that's what I was saying. I was thinking it was going to be the best of both worlds. No, Joker was going to be the... But I couldn't help but notice I felt a little let down first time seeing the movie in 2008 versus the first time seeing the movie of 2005 Batman. You know, I saw the Batman, both movies, all three, the trilogy, both movies in the third one when it came out in theaters, but I was more disappointed with the 2008 movie than I was with the 2012 movie of Batman Begins saga that Nolan's started with Batman Begins. And for some reason, it kind of bothers me that this is not called Batman Begins trilogy, it's called the Dark Knight trilogy, because I really think the Dark Knight installment is the weaker out of the bunch. I truly think that, okay, as a Batman fan, longtime Batman fan. And I wanted more than mediocre of a blockbuster flick. I wanted something with more better drama and more emotional grit to the story, and better understand the psychosis of Batman, what goes on in his head. And I wish they showed it more and that more. And I felt like they glanced over it way too much in Batman Begins, when it kind of, at first, in the first beginning, teases that it's going to really dive into it. But then later but then throughout the film it cuts to him way too quickly becoming a Batman and donning the mantle and getting his suit and everything. I just felt like it kind of rushed it. The origin story retelling of Batman with the Begin story, making it a mediocre retelling of Batman. Felt like it could have been paced better, okay? And the reason why I give Batman The Dark Knight Rises 2012 flick the third installment and final installment to the Nolan trilogy, with Dark Knight trilogy and the saga directed by Nolan, I give that a 6 out of 10. Because here's the thing, before I go further, I want to say this is my favorite Batman movie by Nolan, okay? Next to Batman Begins. There, I said okay. Because I think this is the strongest pace, and has the most authentic dialogue, and the best pace of a strong pace that that has a slow burn to it, but has big epic moments within these slow burn moments, like really great spectacles. It kind of reminds me of what Robert Pattinson did with the Batman, directed by Matt Reeves. To me, Matt Reeves' the Batman was what I wanted Christopher Nolan's trilogy to be like in any of the installments. For me, I think Robert Pattinson's Batman movie is what I wanted more for Nolan's take on Batman to be more like, more believable and emotional, and more authentic dialogue, besides this more violent, besides going up more violent villains for this that are more generally more realistic than the Burton movies went for. As a comparison, because the Burton movie wanted to go for the more comic book portrayal of Batman that was popular within the golden age of comics, where he branded his brand in DC Comics debuted. And Action Comics, starting in the Gold Age Batman did. And and Burton seems to be very in love with Golden Age Batman, and when he talks about Batman in interviews, so I'm pretty sure it seems like that Batman was known for taking lives in committing manslaughter. Well, that Batman did kill the Joker, and he got brought back in the same decade of the Golden Age. And the same era with the Golden Age, Joker got killed off in the first issue and then got brought back by the writers. I hear this very interesting story about that, of how that came to be, bringing back Joker as a permanent character after they killed him in the first issue. I was interested in listening to that YouTube video. I forget what the YouTube video was. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked, sorry. Point is, I like The Dark Knight Rises as a 6 out of 10 because it's the... You know what? I don't want to give it a 6 out of 10. I want to give it more of an 8 out of 10. And the reason why I want to give it an 8 out of 10 is because I can't give it a 10 out of 10, but I can give it an 8 out of 10. Because I liked it and all, but I just wish it was his own separate movie, not connected to the first 2 Batman movies. Because I thought the fact that these movies are built on each other gives it kind of a dent for me into liking the third one. The fact how they're built on each other, and the story as a whole within the third one, how it connects to the first 2 one, raises some questions and makes you kind of feel like they kind of accidentally demasculated and nerfed Batman and kind of dumped him down to his comic book counterpart. Compare to. because I thought it was kind of stupid and questionable. How they basically did the Batman The Dark Knight Rises by Frank Miller story. How he comes out of retirement, but they bring Bane into it with the third one. And how Batman Begins, taking inspiration from Batman Year One by Frank Miller. And, you know, what's weird that The Dark Knight ends how it ends. It ends with Batman running from the police. And 12 years after that movie took place, was in the events of the world building of the universe in the Nolan timeline of the third one. 12 years later, Batman comes out of retirement, still wanted by the police because they still think he killed Harvey Dent, he's still framed for murderer. So, Batman stopped being Batman when this very out of character for Batman to do that, to give up being Batman, just because he's wanted by police, because he's been wanted by the police before and hasn't always worked with them. It just makes me wonder, why can't he just continue being Batman and still be wanted by police? That's why I wish he went with the third one, but instead he just comes out of retirement. It's kind of what's the word, retarded, dumb, lazy, ripping off Nolan, lazy, Frank Miller, ripping off Frank Miller beat by beat for this Dark Knight Rises story from Frank Miller. Pretty much just brought Bane into it and she makes some tweaks and changes. That's what this movie is, The Dark Knight Rises. The 2012 flick is what it did. Does it okay? For what it is, it does really good job. Yeah, but the franchise is kind of mediocre, but the third one is pretty good, I thought. I just wish I didn't, you know, if you don't see the third, if you see the third one and don't see the sequels, you'll probably like the third one more, because it won't make you raise questions if you just saw the third one as its own, as its own standalone movie and skip the first two. But if you see them in order, it's going to make you raise questions and make you denting your liking into liking the third installment, the final installment to the Nolan saga. So that's why I have to give it an 8 out of 10, because it doesn't whole lot make sense as I like it to be with Batman's character, from what I know of the character, Cape Crusader. And considering it's supposed to be a realistic take on Batman, that's supposed to take place in more of a real world setting, it doesn't make sense. It makes less sense than what the comics normally go for, with their worst ideas. And that's even like that's even counting All-Star Batman and Robin by Frank Miller. And yes, I know Frank Miller's done good stuff, but if that comic run is hated by or devices among Batman fans and DC fans for reasons. It's not. It's not. From what I understand, it's laughable, that comic run. And so was the first two Batman movies by Nolan for me. Laughable was the dialogue. Most of the dialogue is just cringe, laughable monologuing. Like, I get it. Whoever wrote the scripts clearly thinks Batman's the greatest superhero ever. I'm not saying he isn't. I think he's the greatest Batman character ever. But I just don't like how this movie constantly has to make him into Bat Jesus, of all things. Like you know how like the first two Nolan films makes him into Batman Jesus Christ, of like it was the symbolism in monologuing. Like, you know how the third ending of the Dark Knight, ending of the Dark Knight 2008 flick, how when goes off monologuing about the Dark Knight and how he's a Dark Knight, blah blah blah, watchful, protect the guardian angels, blah blah blah. It sounds like he's saying he's Jesus Christ, gonna walk on water next. It sounds like it's just stupid. We get it. We get it. He's a cool character. You don't have to constantly monologue and telling us how cool he is. This show, don't tell us, was the monologuing constantly. So that's not necessarily whoever wrote that into the script. The monologuing, how it darkly ends with the monologuing. I wish it just shut up and let the moment speak for itself and let Batman ride off and getting hunted on cops while the Dark Knight theme starts playing, okay? That's how I wish it happened, without going and monologuing, okay? I wish everything was the same, except for Gordon's monologue. I just wish I got edited out, the ending. But it still ended like how it did. But just the monologue is too much. And it's at the end. It's stupid. Like Jim Gordon does that. Of all the characters, you know? It would be less stupid if Alfred did that, but still stupid. But that would make the most sense if Alfred did a monologue instead of Gordon. That's what I think. And I just wish no one monologue at the end, okay? That's my problem with the Dark Knight third and second installment of the trilogy, with the Dark Knight trilogy that Nolan directed. I give the Dark Knight trilogy a mixed bag trilogy opinion review. I love the third one. I hated the first two ones. I love the third one as an 8 out of 10 for what it was. This makes me raise some questions for like it was how it fits in the first two sequels. I mean, first two ones, how it fits in the saga. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense narratively. I wish it did though. But I like it for what it is. Emotional epic conclusion to Batman that made me happy to be a Batman fan enjoying this movie. With the third one. Can't say the same thing for the first one. Those were too much letdowns. And like parts of the movie, just during like the whole movie as a joke, it was too much. It just didn't seem practical, like realistic enough. Like with the real, it just didn't, or dark enough, or in the real world setting, you know, that was going for. It didn't feel like practical enough, like what was going for was the story, was the real world, for the first two ones. But I felt like I finally got what Nolan was doing with the third one, because it felt like a real world setting, how he was doing it, and using the logic and everything. We're mixing it with the comic book world characters within his world building of Nolan trilogy. So I give them points for that movie, why I only like the third one so much points. This is why I love the third one so much. That's the only one I like. Because I appreciate Batman as a character, and I like the Bane character also in this movie. And to play by Tom Hardy and Christian Bale playing Batman and Bane, and they're both great, have great dynamics on screen. Like Batman feels like worn out Batman, but still fights like a young man, and Bane feels like this menacing opposing figure that's really bulk, lots of muscle, but lots of brains, more brains than Barnes. Even though he's just reduced to just a henchman in the League of Shadows, a member, he's still pretty smart and intimidating, you know? Even though you find out in the third act he's just a henchman, and the real person behind the plan is Italia, the daughter of head of League of Assassins from the first Batman Begins movie. That's where I'm saying, you see what I'm saying? And that's where I feel like why I have to give it an 8 out of 10 again, because I don't like how like we're seeing him reduced to a henchman again instead of the main thread, and that's what Batman and Robin did. And yeah, I know that was a stupid take on Bane and for men for left, but this is a smart take on Bane and taking the character seriously. What the fuck happened? Whose fault is that? Why didn't Nolan just told the right? Did Nolan look at the script before directing it, or whose fault was it to make Bane a henchman? I thought it was stupid and really kind of watered down the character for his full potential, taking him seriously. For this portrayal Bane. I wish they rewrite the ending on who's the main villain. Is what I wish that, but so it's not what happened, but it is what it is. I don't really like the story 100%. It doesn't feel 100% makes sense to me. It's kind of dumb. Some of it, like when it gets at the end, when it's wrapping up, when it goes to changing the main villain to a third wheel villain, that's a henchman that's building around Bane. This is the same thing that Batman Begins pulled, I just realized. In the third act, with like the whole villain was the whole villain being Scarecrow, because you think the head League of Assassins is dead because of the explosion, not knowing that Liam Neeson's the head League of Assassin, and he's behind everything, even the Scarecrow crimes that he's been committing around Gotham. And he's behind the Wayne family murder. Of course! M. Night Shyamalan must have read this. I mean, or M. Night Shyamalan must have... M. Night Shyamalan, it sounds like something seriously. When you do that, everything connected to the Wayne murders and have connected to the League of Assassins, I feel like... It feels fucking retarded. I'm just going to say, it feels like stupid Lee in the Water writing. Garbage. Was Batman Begins. But it has good spectacle action here and there, sprinkled throughout the mediocre plot of the movie. Just like the Dark Knight 2008 flick. That's a compliment. Don't take that for granted, it's that compliment that I said about these movies. Okay? I don't like the first two Batman movies, but I liked the third one, which Christian Bale did, as an 8 out of 10 movie. I loved it as much as Batman and Robin, the 1997 flick, which George Clooney and Chris O'Donnell did. I give that an 8 out of 10 as a Batman fan. And as a movie critic, I give it an 8 out of 10. Because I can't shut that off part of my brain. The criticizing shit, even though I wish I could. This is one of the burst effects I have had since I've been born. And yes, the criticizing did get me, did get annoying when I was in school, when I was as a kid. And I know other people doing this. Criticizing shit like movies and shit and crushing stuff. And I just remember this. Anyway, that's too much information that I'm going to sound like I'm going to sidetrack. The point is, I like the Nolan trilogy as a mixed bag run. That's my review on the Nolan trilogy. And I'm going to give Batman and Robin a different review another time. Goodbye. Good morning. Subscribe. And it's early morning where I am. I see the sun's it's dark going away, but the sun hasn't come up yet. But it's getting less dark, more blue out in the sky before sunrise where I am. So good morning, early morning where I am, and I love you, my audience. Thank you for viewing this video all the way through of my Personal and Batman trilogy run review. I hope you enjoyed it. Like this video, subscribe, and feel free to comment below, or don't have to comment below, but I really want you to support my channel by subscribing and liking this video, please. Or just subscribe, at least. Even if you don't like this video, I just want you to... I just want to grow my... I'm sorry. You don't have to... I don't know if it's... Which is more important, to subscribe or like my content. Was both equally important. So... Both ways like my videos, and like and subscribe, please, for my content. To grow my channel, maybe one day I can make a video living off of making videos. Hopefully. My dream can come true. With your help. Goodbye. I almost dropped the phone.